Hello everyone, I want to talk about the biggest mistake, let's talk about the three biggest mistakes people make on a raw vegan diet when they start off, how to solve them. And the reason I want to make this video is because I was watching, I was on a forum today and someone was saying that they were feeling cold on a raw vegan diet, and there was lots of different people answering. Now, some of those people had some experience with this lifestyle, and some of them probably just have come to that forum for the first time. For some reason, they've decided to answer the question, and people like to give their opinion. Like if you want to get a lot of response on Facebook or something, ask people their opinion on something. People like to give their opinion, their ideas or whatever, for whatever reason. And on this forum, a lot of people are giving an opinion, an idea, a reason, without really thinking through the effect of what they're saying might have. And that's kind of the problem here. My opinion on certain things has changed now that I am kind of 8 years into being part of this movement and this lifestyle, and being online a lot, and being at events a lot, and running events a lot, and speaking to a lot of people and watching people and seeing the mistakes and consciously trying to think, how do I make this event better? How do I get this idea across better? Constantly thinking about that, constantly watching people. That's made me think about it differently than someone who's just jumped into a forum and is just like randomly giving advice because they've read Robert Morse's Detox Miracle Source book or whatever it is, or Arnold Ehret's, like one of those Arnold Ehret books from 100 years ago. So I've got a bit of a different opinion than a lot of people. I've also not done a lot of I don't actually sell a lot of products. I do sell the UK Fruit Fest as a product, a service, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know how biased that makes me. But I don't have any supplements to sell. I don't have any herbs to sell. I don't sell fruit, so I don't really make anything out of you buying or eating fruit. And I don't even really have any books or anything like that. I think I might have some books on Amazon, but I don't really ever talk about them or try and sell them or anything. I've completely kind of forgot about those books. So I'm not saying I've got the clearest opinion or the best opinion or whatever. I'm not trying to say that I'm the only person that knows best or whatever. But on forums and things, I see some of the same problems coming up. Usually what we see is that someone feels a lack of energy. Potentially they feel a bit depressed. Potentially they feel cold. Potentially they're losing a lot of weight, losing muscle, losing strength. More likely a man's going to say that. And something in that category, that's a problem. But that's all, to me, almost all the time, it's the exact same thing that solves that. Almost all the time the person is not eating enough. That to me sounds like a person who is actually trying to do this lifestyle, they're just not eating enough. And the reason, so my friend Elliot was saying, how can you be so sure? It's not always, you can't just make assumptions like that. And he is right, you can't be 100% sure, but you can be very highly more sure that that's the answer than anything else. Because it's a trend, it's a pattern that we see again and again and again and again. And a pattern or a trend is actually a very good level of evidence. If we see something that happens again and again and again, it's a fairly good level of evidence. If you've not got any other evidence to go on, it's a fairly good level of evidence. So that's the first major problem that people have. It's something in that area: losing weight, getting cold, depressed, not having any energy. They're probably not eating enough calories in general, and they're probably not eating enough fruit, and that's a problem. But usually, before anything else, before you try and look into anything else, you should find out what the person's eating, how much they're eating, and then tell them how much they really need. What's your height? What's your weight? What's your body mass index? What's your level of activity? And then we can try and work out how much you need to eat, and let's make sure you are doing that firstly, because that's such a common problem. And it's not just a problem, it's like people come to these festivals and events and I watch how much they eat, and I see that they don't eat much, and I see that they look, if I'm eating a plate full of nectarines or something, they'd see that and they go, oh, I saw you were eating all those and I couldn't believe you were eating so much. They say things like that. So I know that people are, like the ideal raw vegan diet is that you could live on a couple of bananas. You know, that would be excellent. If you could go raw and you just eat a few grapes and, you know, a salad and a little bit of fruit here and there, snacking throughout the day, that would be great. Fantastic if that was all you had to do. But you don't. You have to eat enough fruit. You have to eat more fruit. You have to eat a meal of fruit. You have to, usually mono meal. So that's the biggest problem really that we see. And so many problems can be answered with that solution. Back in the day when I was getting into this, I was watching Durian Rider, and that's what he would go on about all the time. And he was right. So much of the time. People don't eat enough. They don't learn to eat enough. So the second problem, it's not always the issue, but a lot of the time it is the problem. The second problem is people saying that they're putting on weight, they're gaining weight, and that's a big worry for people. They've started to eat, they're actually eating a lot more fruit, and they're gaining weight, and that is almost always. And I don't really like to say this, but usually the person is not being completely honest about what they're eating. Right? And you might think that's very assumptive as well. But usually if you then ask the person more about what they're eating, there's two things. Either they're not just eating fruit, you know, they're eating cooked food at the same time, they're eating a lot of fat at the same time, they're eating other things. And you can just go onto their Facebook profile and you go through and you go, okay, they're drinking wine in this picture, they're having ice cream in this picture. Like what is this person? What is this diet that this person's doing? Happens all the time. But you see it on a forum and you believe a person because we all want to believe people. When it comes to the arena of food and diet, it's like everyone's lying. It's kind of like money. Everyone lies about it. You get the most honest people in the world. They go into a shop, they see something. Do you want to, do you want to buy this? Oh no, sorry, I can't afford it. Of course, most of the time they can afford it, but they're happy to tell the lie to get out of the situation because they feel stressed and they can't actually communicate what the actual reason is that they don't want to buy the thing. You know, they can't. They don't want to have to put the effort in or whatever to put that all into words. So they just tell a lie to get out of that situation. And it's the same with food. People lie about food, their diet, and what they do. They lie all the time. And whether it's lie or they misremember, I'm not sure. They misremember, they misrepresent. It's probably more to do with memory than that they're consciously lying to you. But people have an idea of what they are in their mind, and then there's reality, and if that reality doesn't match up, they just like create a new reality. So they maybe don't even realize that they're lying. And if someone's like gaining a lot of weight, because of the first thing, which is most people don't eat enough, it's very unlikely they're out of the gate they're eating way too much. It's unlikely. It's more likely they're eating something else on top of it. And we see that all the time. So those are the two major things. If you want to prescribe people an answer, those are the things that you will hear. I'm losing weight, I'm gaining weight, I've got no energy, I've got no nothing, I've got no ever, or like I'm gaining weight on this diet. And the third thing is blood sugar issues, right? The third big problem people have is blood sugar. Now, you might go into it's chromium deficiency, it could be vitamin D deficiency, it's calcium deficiency, it's all this thing. This is what some people will do on forums and things. You get all these answers like, You need to worry about this nutrient, that nutrient, this thing, this thing, this thing. Everyone's assuming that it's some kind of nutrient deficiency. How is that the case? And what's happening there is the person's coming from a background. You ask the person if they're diabetic. Well, are you diabetic? You come from a diabetic background. Are you a type 2 diabetic? Do you have issues? Have you had issues with blood sugar in the past? You know, there's a lot of different questions to ask. There's a lot of questions to ask like that. So, so that's what's important, I think. That's what is important. And sorry, so why has the person got blood sugar issues? Usually because they've been on such a bad diet for so long that their body's damaged. So then they start eating a ton of fruit. And if they are tracking their blood sugar, if someone's tracking their blood sugar, that means they're diabetic. Like, obviously they're diabetic. Oh, my blood sugar is really high. How would you know that unless you're diabetic and you're testing yourself? So they're diabetic, their blood sugar is going really high, and they're probably still including a lot of fat in their diet. Unfortunately, they're not being completely honest with you about what they're doing. They're probably still eating vegan junk food and other stuff, lots of oil. The system's damaged, and when I ever speak to people like this, do you think that the fruit caused the problem? You're diabetic. You're type 2 diabetic. Did you get that way because of the amount of fruit that you ate? And the answer is no. You never ate fruit. You didn't eat fruit. And yet now you think fruit is the problem. So people have damaged themselves so badly. And by the way, they weren't even aware of it. All of a sudden they're on a raw diet and they think they know exactly what's going on with their health. They think they're in tune with their body. Oh, I know exactly. They were damaging their body so badly over 20, 30 years, making diabetes, putting themselves into a diabetic state through a terrible diet. They weren't even aware of it. But now they're eating fruit and they know that fruit's a problem. Right? And the solution there is they need to speak to someone who's got some special. If you're diabetic, you want to go to this lifestyle, speak to a coach, a trainer, someone like a Robbie Barbaro, like a Doug Graham, a whole bunch of other people that can help you, who have dealt with type 2 diabetes before. But I would, go for the best guys and gals. And the advice is usually that you should probably do a short-term fast. But don't give this advice out in forums. Like, tell them to go to someone. But, okay, don't do a fast. Not even going to tell you how to do this. Go to someone who can show you the way and will help you do it. Robbie Barbaro, they have a coaching program. There you go. And if that's not the one for you, he'll probably be able to recommend you someone else. Mastering Diabetes. Go to one of his events, learn how to do it. Your health is worth it. Getting rid of diabetes is worth it. Type 2. Come to the UK Fruit Fest. We'll show you how to do it. But you got to... you cannot expect that you're healing. And this is the other thing. Like, if you've got someone that's a raw vegan or a plant-based or whatever, and they're still diabetic, like years into it, they're not doing what they say they're doing. They're just not. Like, oh, I've still got diabetes. It's like, how can you still have it? We're seeing people get rid of, like, days. In days, they're no longer having issues, diabetic issues. Type 2. In days, not weeks and months. So people that still have it, it's like, what the hell are you doing? you're still eating the diet that's causing the problem. You're still going to the KFC or the vegan junk food or the whatever, the hummus, the oils. You're still eating that stuff. And I get that. We all get addicted to things, But these are the three major problems. And the three major solutions are do the diet right. Do it right. Learn how to do it right. You might need coaching. You might need some support. Coming to the fruit festival or an event like that would help. But this is not something that is as simple as you go raw and the next day you're doing it perfectly. You're not going to do it right. You're most likely going to do it wrong. Or not quite right, which is the same as doing it wrong. So, the blood sugar issues, if you do the lifestyle right, predictably these issues go away, because these issues are caused by the high-fat diet. If you can continue to do a high-fat diet, you will keep those issues. But the body is able to heal from that. You clear the fat out of the system. It might take a day, 2 days or whatever, and then your body should start to function properly. Because you're getting enough insulin if you're type 2 diabetic. You're just not thingy. So that's 3. And I want to have a special mention for people that are eating disorder, anorexic, bulimic and all that. That's another situation in which people will say they're gaining weight. I'm gaining weight. And they'll also say they've got digestive issues. If you see someone say constipation, ask them if they've come from an eating disorder background. You come from an eating disorder background, you've damaged yourself. Once again, you've damaged your body. You've damaged your digestive system. And then you start to put food in it for the first time in however long properly, and then you're constipated. Well, it's going to happen. But yeah, people who have eating disorder, they'll say they're gaining weight. Oh, I'm gaining weight, I'm eating so much. It's a total red flag. And then, and you should not be dealing, unless you're a counsellor, you shouldn't be dealing with people with eating disorders. Way too, you shouldn't be answering questions from them. Way too risky. Way too risky. They need help. Sometimes they need to be force fed. That is the reality of it. Sometimes. I actually had a friend who's in hospital who's underweight. They're basically force feeding her. I don't know what her history is exactly, but they're force feeding her, even though she's a raw vegan. But they don't want it to be raw vegan in hospital, so they're like force feeding her to get her weight up to where the healthy weight is for her height. And I imagine that's what they end up doing with a lot of people that are anorexic and bulimic and stuff like that, who are in a life-threatening situation. They force feed them because they're no longer able to make decisions. They cannot get through to these people. It's like a real one of the worst mental issues that you'll ever see. Mental health issues. It totally destroys a person's life. Totally takes away their life. And sometimes kills them. Right? Because they can't have a healthy life. You're just not in. You're exacerbating your problem by having this incredible anxiety, and then exacerbating the problem with not enough food, so the body can't even function properly, and it's just an absolute recipe of disaster. And there is such a level of denial involved that it's just impossible for you as an untrained person to help them. Because what are we going to say? You should eat more. Like, that's not helping, right? So it's a big deal. And that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. It's not funny, right? But I'm just saying, these are the big issues. So don't jump to conclusions. But here's what it's not. Last few minutes. I know this is a long video, but here's what it's not. It's not a nutritional deficiency. It's just not. It's just not. It's just not. So when people are in forums, the first thing they say, I'm having this problem with the raw vegan diet lifestyle, having this symptom, having this problem. And then you'll get a raft of, have you tried supplement B12, supplement vitamin D, try iodine, make sure you're eating more nuts, have some more flax seeds, have a green juice, all this kind of like supplementation stuff. Have some barley grass powder. Have some. Check your iron levels. Check your vitamin B1, your vitamin A, your DHA, your EPA. Like that's the immediate conclusion that so many people bring up, and I'm almost so sure that 100% of the time it's never the problem, ever, ever, ever. You can't say that because it's like unscientific, irrational to say that, but I'm telling you, so rarely, so rarely, so rarely is it an issue. Honestly, it's so rare, so incredibly rare that it is an issue. So rare. Over time, vegans can get very low vitamin B12 levels, and some will go into vitamin B12 deficiency. Over time, we're talking people that have been doing it a long time, not a week, not a month. We're talking decades, and there's some people that don't. So you should be aware of vitamin B12 as a vegan. Some people say vitamin D if you don't get enough sunshine. I don't know. I really don't know, and I don't know exactly. I've not even looked into like the symptoms of vitamin D and all this stuff. But you can be aware of that if you like, or you can go and get some more sun or whatever. Go to a sunbed. Nothing wrong with that. And after that, it gets, to me, it's like, I don't know. I really don't see. I mean, I think that I've seen a very long-term, once again, long-term vegan and raw vegan. I think I've seen people that might have had a vitamin D issue. Yes. But once again, we're talking long-term. Long-term. You know? And long-term avoiding the sun. Long-term avoiding the sun. Avoiding sunlight. Really avoiding sunlight. And that seemed to happen. So, you know, one of the things we prescribe in this lifestyle is getting enough sun. Some people choose not to. And in terms of vitamin B12, I've never seen anyone who went raw vegan and got a vitamin B12 deficiency in a week or in a month or in 6 months. I've never seen it. Like, I've seen people do it for a long time before they ever thought about vitamin B12. So for beginners and people starting off, it's almost never the issue. It's almost never the issue. And there's some theories that you've got 10 or 20 years worth, your body can store 10 or 20 years worth of vitamin B12 in the liver. So if you don't, if it's the case that we're not able to get any vitamin B12 from our environment, from the bacteria inside us, if that's true, and there's not any on the food that we eat, although there is, but if that's actually the case, I think then that's the thing. So there you go, three big problems. Let's go over those again. People losing weight, they're not eating enough, but that could also, they probably don't realise they're losing weight straight away. What they will realise very quickly, they've got no energy, they feel depressed, they feel cold, not eating enough calories. Number 2 issue, we're talking about real beginners issues. Number 2, gaining weight. If they're gaining weight, they're probably eating too much fat, they're probably still eating cooked food, they're probably eating nuts and things like that. It's unlikely, to the point that it almost never happens, that a person's eating too much fruit. And you're going to say to me, yeah, but it could happen. I'm talking about it's so rare that I've never seen it. I've never seen a person get into this lifestyle and eat too much fruit intuitively. Never. ever, unless the only time that it happens is when they literally, there was no, even then, because Durian Rider and Freely used to tell people eat as much as you can, stuff it in, smash the carbs and all that, and so people were, but no one was ever able to. I'm telling you, people were not able to eat enough for it to be a big issue. So it's never the problem. And number three, blood sugar issues, which is someone coming from a background of, they start to eat a lot of fruit, but they're coming from a background of some kind of damage already or whatever. So thank you very much for watching the video. I know it's a long one. Feel free to comment below. Let me know if you want a video on something else. And yeah, thank you for watching. Thanks for watching. And that's all I have to say.